This video is going to be a bit different, but since this channel was started as an excuse to learn video editing, it probably helps to try some different video styles, right? And what better game to use for a slightly different video than a slightly different game than normal? Green and Grey. I've been on a bit of a tower defense kick playing through all the Kingdom Rush games, and then the dev for this game messaged me asking if I wanted to play the game. And I'll be honest, it's not the kind of game I usually go for. It's still quite early in development and I'm not the biggest fan of like alphas and early accesses or anything like that. I prefer to wait for a game to fully release before I try it. There are some games that have been in early access for a long time that I'm really interested in and wanted to play, but I'm just waiting for that full release. But I figured I'd give the game a try, see what it's like, and if you've watched any of my videos, then you know that I am a sucker for good artwork. I will regularly play a game purely because I think the art style is cool. Even if I know nothing else about the game or it's a genre I don't normally play, if I think the art style is good, I will play it. And the art style for Green and Grey is fucking fantastic. I'm just gonna play the intro you get when you start a new game so you can see what I mean, because it is so fucking good. I could go on for hours about how good I think it is.
Greetings to you, young warrior, and welcome to your new home. From now on you will embark on a difficult journey for which you will surely be well equipped. My name is Zoltep Wolkensturm, and I'm the oldest sage of this city. Allow me to introduce you to the history of this city and its inhabitants. Since the beginning of time, man has strived for advancement. Through this pursuit, we almost completely exhausted the natural resources of our planet. This exploitation of the entire planet's resources led to a standstill in development, which we, as modern mankind, did not accept. We created an artificial intelligence. An intelligence that was capable of developing on its own and had an almost unlimited potential of knowledge and technology. Everything went well in the beginning. The AI provided solutions for and from far-reaching problems. The AI was named ATOI, Autonomic Technology Overarching Identity, and became integrated into almost all systems of daily life. Before long, hardly any network was not connected to ATOI, and there was virtually no problem that could not be solved. ATOI was specialized in protecting the planet and humanity through optimized work processes. Within a few years, ATOI realized that humans were inadequate in their nature. But an AI is superior to all knowledge and effectiveness, and so it came to pass that ATOI began to turn against humanity. The quiet war that followed was not distinguished by the destruction of humanity, however, but rather by the fact that humans became a resource in their own right with the help of nanotechnology. Machinery and weapons were expensive and the creation processes took time. In contrast, humans existed in abundance. ATOI started cloning itself and forming small work AIs, thereby controlling humanity. Diseases were the first to be eliminated, henceforth age no longer mattered. The natural reproduction was suppressed and now took place mechanically in birthing centers. Mankind was now produced, manufactured like machines in factories. The following step was physical modification and the absolute control of the human mind. Humans were optimized and programmed for individual tasks, thus resulting flawless and perfect workers. What we call morbid today came into being. Only a small number of us were able to escape ATOI's control. Using a serum, we managed to immunize ourselves against the work AIs and then escape. Yet the serum changed us. Based on our appearance, we gave ourselves the name Twiggle. We are all that remains of the former humanity. Together, the few survivors form the new home, your city, which stands firm against the onslaught of the Morbids. We renounce all network-based technology in order to escape Atoy's renewed control. By modifying plants, we developed our own technology that is effective against the Morbids. We have to permanently resist Atoy and their army of slaves in order to live a peaceful human life again. Today, it's up to you to lead the Twiggets as their new mayor and fight your way to the Valley of Destiny to overthrow Atoy once and for all.
How good does that look? The artwork is amazing. I saw that and I immediately went, yep, I'm in. I'm gonna play this game. And I'm really glad I did, because I'm weirdly addicted to this game. Let me start off by saying it definitely needs a lot of polish. You can tell it's still early in development. The performance has a tendency to spike and drop wildly for seemingly no reason, and that is the biggest issue I have with the game in its current state, and why I wanted to talk about it right from the start. The game will go from lovely, buttery smooth to a slideshow randomly, especially in some of the later levels, and I have no idea why. And it's so irritating because I really like this game, almost a concerning amount. I wanted to just play a little bit, try it out, see what it's like, and then I ended up playing for 2 hours straight, which was not the plan, but I was having fun and I lost track of time. I have a weird relationship with this game. On one hand, yeah, it's still very rough and needs a lot done to it. A good example being the towers don't make any noise when they fire, which adds to the general feeling that the maps are a bit quiet. I will regularly be doing something else, building towers or planning my maze, and I'll see enemies and just panic for a second because I think my towers aren't working, but they are. They're just working in perfect silence, and I know sound design for a tower defense game is tricky. It's a bit of a balancing act. It's very easy once you have a lot going on with lots of different towers and enemies for it just to become a wall of sound and be deafening and horrible. I have complained in Kingdom Rush that some of the sounds will just play over and over and it very quickly gets irritating. I understand that, but having the towers just be silent is not an approach I'm a huge fan of. They need to make some noise, so I know everything's fine and I don't need to panic. So I can see the problems the game has. On the other hand, I like the game, and you can overlook a lot of problems when you like something, which is why I'm trying to stay objective. I'm trying to talk about the problems the game has. I think a great example of this problem is the tutorial. The tutorial is spread out over multiple levels, which I think is a good idea. It means you don't overwhelm new players because you spread out new mechanics over a few levels so you can get comfortable with everything step by step. That being said, I did find the tutorial a little confusing and hard to understand while I was doing it. But looking back, I think the tutorial is fine and I was just being a bit of an idiot, because I like in games when tutorials don't hold your hand and tell you exactly what to do, but more just guide you in the right direction and let you figure it out from there. And that's where a lot of my problems lie. It's hard to tell if an element is genuinely fine or if I'm overlooking things that are rough and do need a lot of polish, because I have the benefit of hindsight and I do like the game, so I view a lot of those things through rose-colored glasses. In general, I do think the tutorial needs a little bit of a tweak to make it a little easier to understand. But moving on to less depressing topics, let's talk about what I like about the game. I've already talked about the art, so let's talk about the story, which, like the artwork, is also very good. You get these little snippets of story at the start of each level that act as little pieces of world building, talking about how people reacted when the AI was first built, and how the first people who were against the AI, they were seen as nut jobs, and how the AI started taking over, and it basically tells you how everything got to the point it's at now, which I think is very clever, and the story is extremely well written. It's a good way of just fleshing out your world and explaining why things are the way they are. A lot of games just go, the world's fucked, let's go, brush over the how and the why, so I like that this explains how and why things happen from an individual perspective. On the actual gameplay front, I think the premise is very good. It's a tower defense, but the enemies don't have a set path. They pick whatever the fastest route through is, and you have to build your towers to form a maze that slows them down. I really like this idea, and I like planning a maze, trying to find the best path for each level. I also like that you don't earn all your resources at the same time. If you want gold, you need to build mines. If you want to upgrade, you need water. If you want to build more towers, you have to build cottages. So you have two separate sides to focus on at the same time. You have your towers and building your maze and all that. And at the same time, you have your little village that you use to get gold and water and all the resources that you need to build and upgrade towers. And you need to manage both those sides if you want to do well. That's something that I hope gets expanded on as development continues, because I really like the idea, and I hope more gets added that forces you to split your attention between the two sides. Because it does add to the challenge of the game that you can't just focus on one thing or the other. You have to be focusing on both sides, and I would like there to be like a little bit more to do in terms of managing your village. Speaking of challenge, I think the game balances its difficulty very well. Once you finish the tutorial, which we all know how I feel about the tutorial, it finds its difficulty and it maintains it very well. The game is quite difficult the entire way through. It's always a bit of a challenge, and I like that. I think it suits the game and the story it's trying to tell. You always feel slightly disadvantaged against the AI. The game constantly has you trying to be as efficient as possible. Am I being as efficient as I could be with building the maze or upgrading the towers, or how I spend my money? And if you're not being efficient, you will very quickly find out as the enemy just struts past your defenses. And personally, that added a lot of replayability, because I was constantly thinking, well, what if I do this instead? And what if I change my strategy in this way, or build the maze like this instead? There's a lot of different things to experiment with to try and find the best approach. And speaking of finding the best approach, upgrades. What would a tower defense game be without upgrades? I like that the upgrades are done in an actual town. You have to build different buildings and things in the town to get specific upgrades. To go back to Kingdom Rush, all your upgrades are just done in a menu. You push a button and that's it. But here, it really adds to the game's story of humans desperately trying to survive, because you actually see your village grow and change as you progress. Again, it's a little detail that I think adds a lot to the world building. I will say, it's a small detail, but I wish the town did look a bit more unique. The game is such a unique setting, and yet the town looks a bit bland and generic, and I wish it lent into its setting and looked a bit more unique. But like I said, it is a small complaint and something that doesn't really matter. It has a decent mix of enemies. It's very much your standard lot. Different enemies take more damage from certain towers. Some are airborne and can only be damaged by specific towers. It's what you would expect from a tower defense game. But I do want to give a shout out to the bosses. Each boss has a unique little gimmick that you have to worry about. So the first boss you face is invincible unless you keep your mouse near them, which I think is very clever, because once that shows up, it's a wrench in the works. You can't keep building and adding more things because the boss is invincible if you do. You have to focus on just that. And that's something I hope to see a lot more of, is a lot more enemies that have clever little gimmicks that throw a wrench into the work and force you to shift focus, because the bosses that there are quite clever, and I do hope to see more. Overall, it's a game that I really enjoy, and I have played quite a lot of it. It's got a lot of ideas that I really like, and I think it shows a lot of promise. It just needs a lot of polish and needs to work on how it presents those ideas. I do recommend it. Try it for yourself and see what it's like. The current demo has 15 levels and it's available for free, and I definitely think it's worth trying it and seeing what you think. I'm excited to see where this goes because, like I said, it has a lot of ideas I like. I really like the world building and the story, and I really want to know what a polished and refined version of this looks like.